everyone. This is Kumar Datatrain with Agile Meridian, and we are back for our SAFE series, and we're going to be talking about the 10th principle in the SAFE Scaled Agile Framework. It's the 10th and last principle. So what we do after this, who knows? But we're going to come back with more insights and tidbits, all centered around the Scaled Agile Framework. And so for this, the 10th principle, it's around the organizing around value. So Chris, want to take a stab at sort of defining what does that mean to you?
Sure. So organizing around value means that we're going to structure our team, structure our projects, structure our everything we're doing around the value stream. And that we're going to do that in such a way that we're going to have all the parts that add value to what our project, our product, whatever it is we're doing, and we're going to have them all in a unit, right? And they're all going to work together. In large organizations, we typically have a standard hierarchy, right? And you've got VPs, and then assistant VPs, and then you've got directors, and you just keep going on and on and on. And we tend to silo our folks and different, put them in buckets, right? Like marketing and QA and finance. And what we're talking about here is getting the people together that actually do the work, that add value to it, and getting them creating a unit, if you will. SAFE describes itself as kind of the operating system of the organization, right? You've got the hierarchy, you've got the budgets, you've got the resources and all that other stuff. Well, outside of that, that doesn't always get things done. And so SAFE suggests that you organize around value so that you can cut out all the people that don't add value, right? You can cut out all the things and steps that don't add value. So that's why that's what we're really talking about with this principle, is making sure that everything we're doing is organized around value, is organized around what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, so this SAFE operating system idea, the operating system 2.0, it's really was created. I mean, this idea, this notion was created to address this conflict, right, between the network, which is the people that make up the ideal organization around value, versus the hierarchy in most large organizations that exists. So it's sort of this conflict, right? So as an organization, when it's small, if it's a startup, then there really is no need for anything like SAFE or maybe even Agile, because they're small enough and they're close enough to their customer where they're already inherently organized around the value. However, when an organization grows and becomes more siloed, and you've got all these divisions, marketing and legal and product and so on and so forth, at least I don't know about you, Chris, in my dealings with big enterprise organizations like this, these people just don't talk to each other. And so something like SAFE is very useful in introducing this network of people that may be in different departments and divisions, all organized around a value stream, as you mentioned, right? When this heading here, the conflict, how else could you or would you describe it?
Well, I describe it as, let me back up a second. First of all, no offense, Dean, but we've had this concept around organizing around value for years, right? In the early days, we called it what? We called it matrix management, right? And we'd have a project, we'd have people that be in a department that would be assigned to a project. The problem was we didn't empower them to go do the work. They still had a boss, and they still had to get approval. And what we're really talking about when we talk about the network versus the hierarchy is moving that empowerment to make decisions over to the people that are assigned to the projects to do the work, right? So when somebody goes from marketing and they're part of a particular value stream, we want that marketing person to be able to make decisions, right? And be able to contribute and to define their work and all of that. We don't want them to have to go back to their boss and say, gee, here's what we're going to do. What do you think about this, right? And get approval. And so you have this conflict that's there. You've got the hierarchy, which was put in originally to help the organization scale. And then you have this network of people that actually do the work. And so how do you balance that? Right.
Yeah.
And it's been an age-old challenge. It's something we've struggled with. And what SAFE really did was take that network and put it into formalize it, right? We always talk, like I said, we always talked about matrix management, but there wasn't any formal process around how to do that, or
Yeah.
rule or roles. It wasn't defined. And SAFE does that for us.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Is that the safe operating model, if you will, or operating system, allows that sort of, and actually the ninth principle in SAFE talks about decentralizing decision making, and that's
Right.
closely tied to this. When you organize around value, which matrix management attempts to do, what it lacks is that decentralized decision making, empowering the people that are closest to the decision to make those decisions. But as part of the SAFE framework, and all of these principles, the way they work together, it empowers people to make decisions that are closer to the decisions. What else comes to mind, Chris, in terms of conflict or how SAFE addresses the conflict?
We talked about. I talked a little bit about the conflict of the people going out and being part of the organization, part of the network, and actually interacting. That a lot of this conflict is actually manufactured, right? I say manufactured. It's really inherent it comes from the hierarchy, and it comes from the fact that the hierarchy is threatened, that there's a new way of doing work, that they're not necessarily always telling people what to do, right? Instead of telling people what to do, we're empowering them, we're supporting them. In some aspects, it's a blow to people's egos. What do you mean I'm a manager and I don't have any say over what my people do, right? Which is not really what we're trying to say. What we're trying to say is we want the hierarchy to support the organization, the network, and how we're organizing, so that we can get that moving forward. It continues to be a struggle, right? Because we still are living in a world where we've got budgetary constraints, right? Every department has a budget. Mm-hmm. They go to get approval. Many organizations are still on a year-long budgeting cycle. So whatever they decided in September that didn't get approved until February of that current year, that's what supposed to live with all year. And so it's a little bit of there's a struggle there in terms of realizing what it is we're trying to do, and then also strategically planning, right? The network encounters things, they're going to adapt to what's going on. They're going to adapt to what they need to. As they learn more, they're going to change. The hierarchy over here, though, it's around structure, it's around approvals. And so there's going to be this constant tension between the two, where the hierarchy is saying, well, wait a minute, this is what we said we're going to do. And the network, by the way, is saying, well, wait a minute, we've learned what we were doing was wrong and we need to adapt. So we're going to continue to have that tension. SAFE really gives us some mechanisms to be able to do that, right? When we talk about lean portfolio management, we talk about things like, PI planning, where we come in and we're quarterly planning what it is we're going to do and resetting expectations. All those things that we do, around the PI really are geared toward setting the expectations for the next quarter, right? And saying we've got a quarter to 6 months of a view of what we're going to do. Everything else after that, it's out there. It's out there. We know it's out there, but we don't know if we're going to hit it or not, or what we're going to be doing, or what we're going to learn. So we're going to use the SAFE to be able to help us from that standpoint. When we talk about the three components, right, of SAFE, they are, sorry, steal your thunder, but network, hierarchy, and shared, right? So what are we talking about there? Well, we've talked about the network, right? That's in the SAFE world, that is the release trains, right? And that is the solution train, the release trains roll up to a solution train, and continue to, roll up to the enterprise level. That's really SAFE, right? That's really where SAFE lives. There's the hierarchy on the other side, where that's the organizational structure that we've talked about, right? That's the departments, and budgets, and accounting, and year-end goals, and all that stuff. And then there's this group in the middle that is, we deem it to be shared resources, right? Or a shared part of the organization that kind of flexes between the two. You think of folks like HR, finance, parts of finance, right? That deal with flexible budgets, accounting, the operational aspects of what we do. When we talk about, if we're talking about development and IT, we're talking about the DevOps folks and the infrastructure folks and all those that they're kind of in this, parts of them are in the structure of hierarchy, and then parts of them have to be available to help support the network as it goes forward and as we encounter changes and make decisions on what it is we're going to do.
Yeah, you said a lot there, a mouthful and then some.
I did.
But it's very important. I mean, you raised some really interesting points, that the tension between the network and the hierarchy is one of the main things that you talk about. And I think that, at least in my experience, leading large transformations using the Scaled Agile Framework, the tension is often it can be detrimental, right, to the overall success of a transformation. And one thing that I think is very important with a safe transformation, or really any transformation, is really understanding what your value streams are in the company, in the organization. What are the value streams, and how would you or how should you organize the people around these value streams? Because without that, you're just sort of shuffling people around, shuffling the chairs on the deck of the Titanic and hoping that to achieve a different outcome. And it doesn't happen, right? So I think organizing around value, the core tenet of that really for me is the value streams, understanding the value streams, organizing around the value streams. And if you do that one thing, then the tension is maybe a little less pronounced.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I was in my rant, I had overlooked that. That's a good point.
There's one little gap that you missed, so I figured I'd pounce on it. Anything else you want to talk about in terms of organizing around value?
That's really about it. I think we just need to make sure that that's top of mind. If we're organizing around value, and we're looking for not only those things that add value, but those things that don't add value and minimize them or get rid of them, I think we're going to be pretty successful. I mean, a lot of the other principles feed into this one, and complement this one. But this one, if we really focus on this, I think it's a great way to do it. I can't emphasize enough that we should organize around value, not around personalities. Right. That's one of the things we've seen in our political environment, right? We see it in organizations where you've got this big personality, and we're going to organize around, Betty, because Betty's going to get stuff done, and Betty's a good person to get it done. But that may not be, we may not have all the pieces we need there. We may not have all the folks engaged that we need to get to deliver value and deliver value consistently. And so I think we just need to keep that top of mind.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I like the analogy as well. Organize around value, not around the personalities. And often, in a more traditional environment, we tend to do that. Is organize around, who has the loudest voice and biggest budget and so on. Actually, you mentioned a lot of things that we will be covering later on in this safe Scaled Agile series, like lean portfolio management and budgetary cycles and strategic planning and things like that, where the Scaled Agile Framework has patterns and principles, I guess, that help a more traditional organization that's organized around a hierarchy be more successful with this network way of organizing around value. So we'll cover that in future episodes. Any closing thoughts, Chris, before we end this?
Nah, I don't have any more. Just love the opportunity. Love to talk about this stuff. And, if you want to learn more about SAFE, visit our website, call us, reach out. Kumar and I are glad to talk to anybody about SAFE, about any topic within SAFE. We enjoy talking and collaborating with folks, so don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's not about SAFE, call us anyway, because we are We are not safe zealots. We are agnostic. We like the SAFe framework and we promote it because we think it works. But if there are other things that you'd like to learn about, contact us. We don't discriminate. Let's put it that way. All right. Thanks for watching, folks. See you next time.
Take care.
Bye.